You know, it's not usually where we have a rumor and I say right off the bat that it's true. Normally, I always say, I hate talking about rumors, we always know they're fake, blah, blah, blah. This is not the case. Now, first and foremost, as you can see with the curtains blocking the way, the very first thing I want to say is if you don't want spoilers on Pokemon news, then this is your chance to fuck off. I will give you 3 seconds. Otherwise, consider yourself spoiled, and it's not my fault. Still here? Okay, good. Let's get into this, shall we? So first of all, I have to say... Oh, first of all, we should do the reveal. There you go. Rumor, Pokemon Moon and Sun leaked. So first of all, a Twitter account revealed this. However, the Twitter account was a fake Nintendo of Europe account or something like that. So, first of all, I had to clear up that. However, that being said, the actual information being Pokemon Moon and Sun is legit. Ironically, only the person who revealed this had a fake Nintendo account. Maybe they just didn't want to be caught up being the person revealing it. Maybe that's what it was. But either way, the trademark is on a professional European site that Nintendo has used before. So we even have logos. As you can see, the trademark there, Pokemon Sun. There's actually a logo in everything, and Pokemon Blue down there. Not to mention, later on in the same day, Pokemon Sun Moon was registered a domain name by Nintendo of America. So there you have it. Sun and Moon are something, are a real thing. Now, people are saying, oh, the names might change. No, not likely, seeing as you already have fucking logos. And usually if there would be a name change, it would say temp beside the name on, like, the, what do you call those things? The investor report or whatever. So we have a lot to talk about in this video, and I'm going to be going into more depth, of course, after the Nintendo Direct tomorrow. But Pokemon Sun and Moon. The funny thing is, a little light joke that a lot of people have made is, you could say this is Pokemon S and M. Think about it. S and M. Do you get what I'm saying? Exactly. It's a funny little pun there, but either way. So it seems this is Gen 7, and it will be showcased more than likely in Nintendo's Direct tomorrow, the Pokemon-themed one. It's just way too much of a way too much of a coincidence otherwise. So, some people say, of course, what about Pokemon Z? Or, it's just too soon for Gen 7. And I'm here to, of course, educate those people on those very subjects. So, let's break this down let me explain something to you crazy people. Come October or November of this year, the exact same amount of time will have passed from Gen 5 to Gen 6. So, no, Gen 7, very likely. It was the exact same time that we went from 5 to 6 that it would be from 6 to 7. So it's very likely Gen 7 is happening. Hell, I've been telling people that Gen 7 was coming soon. However, I am going to say I am disappointed that it doesn't seem that it will be on the NX handheld. That's a big missed opportunity for me there. But, as for Pokemon Z, does nobody pay attention anymore? Did Nintendo or Game Freak ever mention it once, a single time, this whole Pokemon Z thing? No, it's always been the fans. It's a fan-made myth. No, only Pokemon Company, with the anime now being called Pokemon XYZ, is the only thing to that. Some might say, but what about the Zygarde forms? And to that, I say so. These days, updates and patches can happen in Pokemon games. We don't need a whole, quote, new game, because Pokemon, whether it's the third game in the series or whatever, or the generation, whether you want to call that a new or not, or enhanced version or whatever, do we really need that just to add Zygarde forms? And let's be honest, shall we? Zygarde is a shitty legendary, probably the #1 worst legendary Pokemon there is. Even Shaman is better of a legendary. And you can already get Zygarde in X and Y already. So a third game, not really needed. And Zygarde's not only bad stat-wise, I was going to say, but also design-wise. But back to my point of people not paying attention. The last time, I mean, my memory could be wrong here, but to my knowledge, the last time Game Freak made a third, quote, third game to a generation was Platinum. That was Gen 4. Gen 5 was black and white, and everyone thought, remember, Pokemon Gray was coming. But nope, we got Black 2 and White 2. Then Gen 6 came along, which is Pokemon X and Y, and now once again people are thinking, oh, Z makes sense, so that's coming. Except it doesn't make sense, and never was happening. Back in the days of Pokemon Yellow, Emerald, and Platinum, a third version was made to be a slight improvement with like one new legendary, and it fixed some of the issues and the bugs from the other versions. Because nowadays, that doesn't need to happen because of patches and updates to games via, the internet. Now, I can't understand why people would want Pokemon Z when it would be a near identical game to X and Y. I get that people love spending money not once but twice on stuff they already own. That's just the way stupid fucking casual gamers, or even the quote core gamers or hardcore gamers have become. But Game Freak has clearly moved on and gone to just making two versions, which is what it should stay as. Also, you think and if you think to celebrate Pokemon's 20th anniversary, the best way to do that is Pokemon Z? Really now? Come on, Gen 7 is the way to go. And I've heard some people say things like, they should just make one version with everything on it. But that's not the point of Pokemon. The point of Pokemon is to trade and battle with friends. Hell, some Pokemon only evolve when you trade them. So, that wouldn't work. Some still say that the boring old Nintendo... wait, what? Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I don't understand my notes here. Some people are still saying that the boring old generic insult of Nintendo should put Pokemon on a home console. To that, I say no. It's called Pocket Monsters for a reason. Or it originally was, anyway. Game Freak has stated before they won't ever allow that. Frankly, it would kill the franchise anyway. Pokemon is the number one reason why Nintendo is king of handhelds. So if you think taking away a massively successful franchise on handhelds to have mediocre sales in comparison on home consoles would be a good choice, bitch, get out of here. Plus Pokemon is made in Japan, where handhelds are king. At least, Nintendo's are. Ooh, shots fired to the Vita. So now, let's actually talk a bit about Sun and Moon here. A lot of people think of Solrock and Lunatone, rightly so, when they think of Sun and Moon. Because, Solrock is a Sun Pokemon and Lunatone is a Moon Pokemon. It makes sense in, that sense. And frankly, though, unless they get Mega Evolutions in this game, I don't see them having any effect on the game at all, or even being relevant to the game at all. Now the question, though, it becomes, why Sun and Moon? Could Gen 7 be more focused on space, like Deoxys? Or could the game be playing on day and night, which they have dealt with a bit in the past? For example, like when Eevee would evolve into Espeon at dawn or morning, and into Umbreon at night. Now here lies my guess. To me, what they could do is, what if in Pokemon Sun, it's always daytime? The story would somehow be like, oh, the bad guys made it always daytime. Meanwhile, in Moon, the bad guys made it always night. In past Pokemon games, it might have been, I think it was Gen 2, some Pokemon only could be found in the daytime, and some at nighttime. So what if in Pokemon Sun, every new Pokemon in it can only be gotten in that game? And in Moon, the same thing, but only they're, at nighttime. So instead, now I know this is a bit of a stretch, I know it's hard to accept, a major change to the Pokemon franchise, but just hear me with this. What if, so instead of the normal situation where each version has, say, maybe 5 or 6 exclusive Pokemon to each version, excluding, the main legendary, why not split this generation 50-50 right down the middle? Also, what if all 7th generation Pokemon took after Zygarde, in the sense that all 7th generation Pokemon, like 6th generation, introduced Mega Evolutions? What if in 7th generation, all new Pokemon, like the 7th gen Pokemon, changed forms. Maybe during the time of day that they would switch, because isn't that how, I forget how Zygarde's works, but he changes forms depending on something. So wouldn't that be interesting? If a Pokemon, instead of it evolving, during the daytime it was in one form, during the evening it was another, and at night it was its other form. That would be quite crazy. Highly doubt it's going to happen, but it's a thought that I'll throw out there. Which brings me to the next area that we need to discuss. How many new Pokemon will there be in Gen 7? And hard to say is the honest-to-God answer. Since Gen 6 added hardly any, or it felt like hardly any, what was it, like 70 or so? I feel that they need to have at least 100 new ones. And they could even do this. Have 50 of them in Sun, and 50 of them in Moon. Now, I know what you're thinking, but wait, only 50 Pokemon in a game? That's not enough. Well, clearly they would have some of the older Pokemon from the older games as well. Because you can't have Pokemon without a Pikachu in there. Or hell, maybe Gen 7, since it's the 20th anniversary, what if they went crazy? What if they went all out? What if they added 200 new Pokemon, which would bring the grand total of Pokemon to near 1,000? Then they could have 100 new Pokemon in each version, and still have each of them be exclusives. Granted, this is just me spitballing and should not be taken as fact. Not yet, anyway. We'll have to see how I feel about after the Direct. But think about it. It could work. Would you be interested in a Pokemon game where, you have Sun and Moon, and it's like, oh, if I get Sun, I get, like, 100 Pokemon are new in this one, or however many, and they're all exclusive to that version? Or do I want the ones in Moon, where those are all exclusive? That would really make you much more willing to either buy both, or to really actually put a huge emphasis on trading, because there'd be no other way to get the other Pokemon from the other version. Instead of just like, there's one exclusive in each version that I really want, and then the other 2 or 3 I don't really care for. But anyway, where was I here? Yes, lastly, the release date and the platform is what I want to discuss briefly. I wanted it to be a launch title for the NX handheld. I've said that before. So that seems unlikely now, unfortunately. It could be, but unlikely. So 3DS for sure. I highly doubt, maybe 2DS, unless they really are going to push the 3D this time. Maybe new 3DS exclusive, since that would be hilarious, because the new 3DS still only has, to my knowledge, one new 3DS exclusive game, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. But whatever. As for the release date, it's pretty easy to say October, November. A full, probably blowout reveal will probably come at E3, but yeah. Although what they could do is have the NX handheld launch the same day as Pokemon Sun and Moon, and have the NX handheld be backwards compatible, of course, with 3DS games, and then you could buy both on the same day. Now, granted, you wouldn't be able to say, it would be a good launch title for the NX in the sense that it's an NX game, but having that to play at launch for the new 3DS, especially if maybe the NX handheld had some extra features, that would be still an initiative to help people buy the NX handheld. But anyway, I guess that's really all I have to cover for my thoughts on Pokemon Sun and Moon so far, at least the leak anyway. We'll see you in the next video, which is going to be my reaction video to the Direct. I might do that video a little differently depending on if what I have in mind works. If not, then it'll just be a regular reaction video. Either way, we'll see you in the next video.